A deafening silence greeted the alien archaeological team as they breached the final barrier of the mysterious spacecraft. Lead archaeologist Jural Van's 4 hearts raced in her chest as her specialized appendages traced the unknown symbols etched into walls made of an impossible metal, a material that their most advanced scanners could not identify. The massive vessel, discovered drifting in the stellar graveyard between galaxies, defied the Thraxi scientists' extensive knowledge of the 12,000 known civilizations. Luminosity at 20%, Jural Van commanded, her voice barely above a whisper. The expedition's floating light drones adjusted, casting an ethereal blue glow across the ancient corridor. Behind her, 6 fellow archaeologists from various Confederation species moved with professional precision, their instruments humming softly as they collected data. The internal architecture contradicts every known design principle, muttered Krell Dorvin, her Medusan colleague whose crystalline body refracted the drone light in mesmerizing patterns. No species builds ships with such inefficiency. Jural Van understood his confusion. Where Confederation vessels maximized function with logical, mathematical precision, this ship seemed almost organic in its layout. Corridors curved unnecessarily, chambers connected in patterns that defied spatial efficiency, and the very material seemed to shift slightly under close observation. Age estimate confirmed at 10,000 standard cycles, reported Ely, the team's timeline specialist, her tentacles manipulating holographic data with blurring speed. But power signatures indicate impossible. The systems appear to be in some form of standby mode rather than completely dormant. The team froze at this revelation. No known technology could maintain power reserves for such a duration. As they penetrated deeper into the ship's core, the walls began to pulse with a faint illumination that responded to their presence. Symbols previously invisible emerged along the surfaces, flowing like liquid light. "The ship is reacting to us," Jural Van observed, fighting to maintain scientific detachment despite her mounting excitement. Adaptive security or recognition protocol. When the team's illumination drones revealed a translucent chamber at the ship's heart, Jural Van approached cautiously. The chamber stood twice her height, a perfect cylinder of material similar to crystal yet demonstrably stronger than diamond steel. Inside floated a bipedal being, unnervingly similar to several Confederation species yet distinctly unique, suspended in a shimmering blue liquid. Jural Van pressed her primary sensory organ against the surface, feeling an unexpected warmth. The being inside appeared peaceful, almost as if in natural sleep rather than stasis. It possessed no exoskeletons, extra limbs, or specialized appendages that characterized most spacefaring species. Just 2 arms, 2 legs, and a head with facial features arranged in a pattern that stirred an inexplicable recognition in the archaeologist. The expedition's eye translator suddenly activated, its synthetic voice echoing through the chamber. Guardian protocol activated. Earth's final defense. Await the return. Earth? Repeated Tillich, the expedition's historian. No such civilization exists in the Confederation archives. The return of what? Asked another team member, voicing the question forming in all their minds. Before Jural Van could respond, the ship's dormant systems began powering up around them, panels illuminating in sequence as energy coursed through pathways that had lain silent for millennia. The chamber containing the being hummed with increasing resonance, the blue liquid beginning to drain. "It's waking up," Jural Van realized with a mixture of scientific thrill and primal apprehension. Whatever this vessel was designed to guard against, it believes that threat has returned. As the Confederation archaeological team stood transfixed, the ancient guardian's eyes snapped open, meeting Jural Van's gaze with startling awareness and intelligence. The last human was awake. The revival chamber hissed open in a cloud of cryogenic vapor that crystallized in the ship's cold air. The archaeological team retreated several steps, instinctive caution overriding scientific curiosity. Only Jural Van held her position, all 4 of her eyes fixed on the being emerging from stasis. Commander Ilara Chen moved with unexpected grace, her movements fluid despite millennia of suspended animation. She was smaller than most Confederation species, but possessed a dense musculature evident even through the form-fitting garment that covered her body. Water-like droplets of cryofluid evaporated from her olive-toned skin as she took her first breath in 10,000 years. Her dark eyes immediately assessed the aliens surrounding her, calculating threats and advantages before she even spoke. Jurel Van recognized the look. It was the same evaluation any apex predator made when encountering unknown entities. "You're not void-touched," she said, her relief palpable. The translator implanted in Jurel Van's auditory canal struggled to keep pace with the unfamiliar language patterns, creating a slight echo effect. "I am lead archaeologist Jurel Van of the Thraxi Science Academy," she responded, using the formal introduction protocol. "We discovered your vessel adrift in the stellar graveyard between Andromeda and the Triangulum galaxies." The human, Ilara, absorbed this information with remarkable composure. 10,000 years, according to your ship's chronometers, she stated rather than asked, having already interfaced with their technology somehow. Longer than expected. The void was supposed to remain contained for at least twice that duration. "What is this void you reference?" asked Kral Dorvin, the Medusan archaeologist, his crystalline form glittering with unease. Before Ilara could answer, the expedition's communication array activated, projecting the stern visage of High Counselor Vex Palin. The insectoid administrator's mandibles clicked in agitation when he noticed the awakened being. "You were instructed to report before taking any irreversible actions, Archaeologist Jurel Van." He chittered, compound eyes narrowing. "The Confederation Protocol 4. Ilara stepped forward and addressed the projection directly. "Your concerns are understandable, Counselor, but time is a luxury we no longer possess." She accessed the communication array with alarming ease, bringing up a star map that highlighted several regions at the galaxy's edge. "These gravitational anomalies your scientists have been monitoring for the past 200 days. They're not natural phenomena." Vex Palin's antennae stiffened in shock. "How could you possibly know about classified Confederation?" "Because I've seen it before," Ilara interrupted, manipulating the display to show similar patterns from ancient data. "These are manifestation points where the barriers between dimensions grow thin, where the void tests its prison." The Confederation representatives who had arrived on a diplomatic vessel exchanged skeptical glances. A slender, tentacled diplomat floated forward. "We have no records of any civilization called humanity or any cosmic war with this void entity you describe." Ilara's expression remained impassive, but Jurel Van detected a flicker of old pain in those alien eyes. "You wouldn't. Humanity stood as guardians at the edge of reality," she explained, activating a holographic display that showed galaxies being consumed by a darkness that moved with terrifying intelligence. "We didn't just fight the void. We imprisoned it, becoming the bars of its cage, sacrificing our entire civilization so yours could exist." Her words hung in the air, met with disbelief and suspicion from most of the Confederation representatives. Yet Jurel Van found herself oddly convinced, perhaps because of the precise, measured way Ilara spoke, not as someone spinning tales, but as a soldier reporting hard facts. The tense silence was broken by an urgent alert from the Confederation science vessel in orbit. A gravitational anomaly had just been detected less than 12 light-years from their current position, exactly where Ilara's hologram showed the void had last been contained. "It's beginning," Ilara whispered, her eyes meeting Jurel Van's with grim certainty. "And we're not ready." The Confederation's most prestigious research facility, the nexus of evolving thought, fell into stunned silence as Ilara effortlessly solved theoretical problems that had stumped their brightest minds for centuries. The vast amphitheater, designed to host collaborative sessions between the 12,000-member species, now focused entirely on the lone human standing at the central podium. "You're approaching it backward," she explained, rearranging their complex quantum entanglement equations with casual confidence. Her fingers danced across the holographic interface, restructuring mathematical constructs with an intuition that bordered on artistic. Humanity learned to see patterns where others saw chaos. Grand theorist Masvolen, a gaseous entity contained within a hovering crystalline shell, drifted closer to observe Ilara's work. "Impossible," he whispered, his voice resonating through specialized vibration channels. "You've unified the Brachian constant with the elliptical paradox. Our greatest minds have attempted this for 7 generations." "It's not about forcing reconciliation between opposing theories," Ilara replied, her attention still fixed on the equations. "It's about recognizing their two perspectives of the same underlying reality." She gestured to the completed proof hovering before them, like viewing a structure from above and below simultaneously. Van watched from the observation gallery, recording every moment of these demonstrations. For 3 days, Ilara had moved through the Confederation's scientific community like a catalyst, accelerating discoveries and challenging fundamental assumptions. Most remarkable was how she adapted to their technology without instruction, as if the principles underlying all devices were intuitively obvious to her. An urgent communication interrupted the session. "Emergency at Iridia Station," announced the facility's eye. "Quantum core destabilization detected. Catastrophic failure predicted within 17 standard hours." The assembled scientists erupted in controlled panic. Iridia Station housed irreplaceable research data and over 30,000 personnel. Evacuation would require at least 22 hours. 17 hours, Ilara questioned, accessing the incoming data streams. Her expression shifted as she analyzed the fluctuation patterns. "No, minutes, maybe less." Before anyone could respond, she was moving, requisitioning equipment with the authority of someone who expected to be obeyed. When the station's transporters delivered them to Iridia's main engineering section, 12 minutes later, chaos reigned. The quantum core's containment field fluctuated wildly, its normal blue radiance now pulsing with ominous crimson flares. "This isn't a natural degradation," Ilara stated, studying the readouts. She repurposed common tools into devices that somehow bent the laws of physics, her hands moving with practiced precision as she explained her actions to the bewildered engineers attempting to keep pace. "The core isn't destabilizing. It's being destabilized," she clarified, manipulating fields that the engineers couldn't even detect. "The void tests us, probing for weaknesses in your technology, searching for points of incursion. Using methods incomprehensible to even the station's senior theorists, Ilara established a harmonic resonance within the quantum matrices, stabilizing the core just as evacuation ships arrived. 30,000 lives saved by knowledge that seemed more intuition than science." Later, alone with Van in her assigned quarters aboard the Confederation diplomatic vessel, Ilara stared at star charts showing spreading gravitational distortions. The human looked exhausted, her face drawn with a weariness that transcended physical fatigue. "These aren't random," she whispered, her finger tracing a pattern invisible to anyone else. "The void is testing its cage, looking for the weakest points, for the places where humanity's sacrifice is beginning to fade." Van's scientific mind struggled with concepts beyond empirical measurement. "If your people became this cage, as you claim, then their fading would allow the void to break free," Ilara concluded, her shoulders straightening with grim resolve as she pulled up schematics of her ancient vessel. "It's time to wake the old weapons, the ones humanity left behind, in case of exactly this scenario." Outside the viewport, the stars seemed suddenly fragile to Van, their light vulnerable against the encroaching darkness between galaxies. The emergency transmission from Nemora colony cut off mid-scream, leaving only static hissing through the Confederation Command Center's communication systems. Admiral Creshvorn, a veteran of 3 interstellar conflicts, felt an unfamiliar chill settle in his exoskeleton as the silence stretched. Nemora was home to 14 million colonists. "Deploy Response Fleet Alpha 7 immediately," he ordered, his chelicera clicking with tension. Priority rescue and containment protocols. 18 hours later, the fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel into a scene that defied comprehension. Half the planet appeared smeared across space, as if reality itself had become fluid and hostile. The surface below showed settlements where colonists still moved, but wrongly, their bodies elongated, and their movements creating echoes in spacetime. Sensors detect life signs, but the science officer trailed off, mandibles trembling. The readings are impossible. Organic matter exists in multiple states simultaneously. Dropships prepare for atmospheric entry, commanded the admiral, following standard rescue procedures despite his growing unease. Don't land, came a voice from the bridge entrance. Ilara strode forward, Girolvan, and a small Confederation security detail following close behind. Those aren't survivors, they're bait. Admiral Creshvorn bristled at the interruption. This human has no authority on my vessel, he began, but faltered as Ilara interfaced directly with the ship's sensor array, bypassing security protocols that should have been impenetrable. Look, she instructed, enhancing the visual feed of the colony's central plaza. The colonists' movements revealed a disturbing pattern. All were slowly converging toward the landing zones, their distorted forms leaving tears in reality behind them. The void doesn't just consume, Ilara explained, her voice tight with controlled fear. It perverts, twists, uses. These were people once. Now they're extensions of its will, designed to lure rescuers into its influence. Before the admiral could respond, a shudder passed through the fleet. 3 scout ships nearest to the planet began reporting system failures as their hulls distorted visibly, metal stretching like taffy. Full retreat, ordered Creshvorn, years of combat instinct overriding his skepticism. All vessels maintain minimum safe distance. Back aboard Ilara's ancient vessel, now humming with reawakened power, Ilara activated systems that unfolded from seemingly solid walls, revealing arsenals built from technologies that appeared more grown than manufactured. Crystalline structures pulsed with internal light, responding to her touch with eager recognition. Reality anchors, she explained to Girolvan, who had refused to leave her side despite the increasing danger. Humanity discovered that consciousness itself could reinforce the fabric of existence against the void's intrusion. The deployment of these devices around Nemora created a containment zone that stopped the reality distortions from spreading, but the cost became clear as Ilara fell to her knees, blood trickling from her nose and ears. Her skin took on a translucent quality, veins glowing with unnatural energy. The anchors draw strength from their user, she admitted as Girolvan helped her stand. Normally, thousands of humans would share this burden. Her determined gaze met the alien scientist's multifaceted eyes. Now there's only me. The holographic displays showed the containment holding, a shimmering barrier between Nemora's twisted reality and the rest of space. But something dark pressed against this barrier. Testing, probing, learning. It knows I'm here now, Ilara whispered, wiping blood from her chin. It remembers humanity, remembers what we did to it. On the command deck of the Confederation flagship, Admiral Creshvorn reviewed the sensor data from the containment operation with growing concern. The effectiveness of the humans' intervention was undeniable, but so was the strategic implication. The void, whatever it was, had launched a direct attack on a populated world. 14 million souls lost in hours. This was no longer an archaeological curiosity or scientific mystery. This was war. The ancient human outpost hidden beneath the surface of an uninhabited moon awakened at Ilara's touch, holographic interfaces springing to life with welcomes for long-dead operators. Dust, undisturbed for millennia, swirled in the recycled air as emergency lighting illuminated corridors designed for beings now extinct from the universe. The facility recognizes your biological signature, Girolvan observed, noting how doors parted automatically for Ilara, while the Confederation security detail required manual overrides. It knows you're human. Not just human, Ilara corrected, placing her palm against a seemingly ordinary wall section that liquefied at her touch. Guardian class. We were genetically modified to interface with our technologies at a fundamental level. As they descended deeper into the facility, Jural Van marveled at the elegant efficiency of human design, both beautiful and brutally practical. Unlike Confederation architecture, which emphasized species-specific functionality, human spaces adapted to their inhabitants in subtle ways, surfaces shifting to accommodate different physiologies. We weren't always warriors, Ilara said, noting the Thraxes' fascination. Before the void, humanity spread life throughout the cosmos. The central chamber activated as they entered, surrounding them with moving images of humans terraforming barren worlds, adjusting the evolutionary paths of developing species, and building megastructures that harmonized with the natural universe rather than conquering it. We called it the Shepherd Protocol. Our cosmic responsibility, Ilara explained as the images shifted through countless worlds and species, many recognizable as evolutionary ancestors of current Confederation members. The revelation hit Jural Van like a physical blow. The mysterious guide species of Confederation mythology was humanity all along. The ancient benefactors referenced in a dozen civilizations' origin stories, beings who had visited primordial worlds and guided evolution along paths conducive to intelligence and cooperation, had been human. The archives spoke of them, but we assumed they were allegories, Jural Van whispered, her scientific mind struggling to reconcile mythology with the evidence before her. The Starwalkers who seeded the heavens. We weren't gods, Ilara said firmly, just custodians who understood our responsibility to nurturing intelligence wherever it might emerge. As the holograms continued, they showed humans facing the first void incursion, their bodies transforming as they linked themselves to the fundamental forces of reality, becoming living weapons against entropy itself. The images were beautiful and horrifying. Humans willingly dissolving into patterns of light and mathematics, their consciousness persisting as equations woven into reality's fabric. The final solution required the ultimate sacrifice, Ilara explained, her voice heavy with the weight of her people's choice. Every human consciousness, converted into living equations within reality's fabric, creating a prison stronger than any physical barrier. But you survived, Jural Van noted, her tone questioning. I was insurance, Ilara answered, accessing deeper systems within the facility, in case the barrier weakened. One human, preserved to reactivate the defensive network, and, if necessary, to complete the equation. Around them, the ancient outpost pulsed with renewed energy, responding to the genetic key Ilara represented. Beyond the moon, similar structures on a dozen worlds began to illuminate, a network of defenses preparing for war once more. One particular hologram captured Jural Van's attention, a map of the galaxy with specific points highlighted. She recognized the pattern instantly. These locations match exactly with the Confederation's most sacred sites, she realized. The Temple of Eternal Light on Kresh Prime, the harmonic spires of Veldin. We hid our most powerful defensive installations in plain sight, Ilara confirmed, within structures your ancestors would preserve and protect, even without understanding their true purpose. A distant alarm sounded, reverberating through the facility. On the holographic display, a new breach appeared, larger than Namora, consuming an entire system in moments. It's growing stronger, learning faster than I anticipated, Ilara whispered, her expression grim. We need to reach the Confederation capital. Now, the Confederation capital world of harmony transformed into chaos as the void's tendrils reached through weakening dimensional barriers. Crystal spires that had stood for millennia twisted into impossible shapes as civilians fled through streets that increasingly defied Euclidean geometry. What began as subtle spatial distortions, distances stretching and compressing unpredictably, had escalated to complete breakdown of physical laws in affected sectors. Primary evacuation corridors compromised, reported the Emergency Management Eye, its voice maintaining eerie calm despite delivering catastrophic news. 78% of population still planetside. High Chancellor Rilvex watched from the government complex as the defending fleet's energy weapons passed harmlessly through the encroaching darkness. Each blast dissipated into nothing, the void learning from each attack and adapting with malevolent intelligence. "We've lost contact with the Eastern Hemisphere," his aide reported, tentacles trembling as they manipulated the communication array. "The distortion is accelerating." Ilara's vessel cut through the panic, its ancient hull shimmering with protective fields that repelled the spatial anomaly surrounding it. From deployment ports along its surface, reality anchors launched into strategic positions, creating pockets of stability in the spreading madness. "I need to reach the convergence point," Ilara commanded through the ship-wide communication system, blood now streaming freely from her eyes as she channeled power through her human physiology. The golden glow beneath her skin pulsed with each anchor deployment, her connection to the devices draining her life force with terrible efficiency. Jural Van monitored Ilara's vital signs with growing alarm. "Your cellular cohesion is failing," she warned, the scientific terminology insufficient to express her fear. "You cannot sustain this output." When the vessel could advance no further against the thickening darkness, Ilara rose from the command chair. "The primary breach is beneath the harmonic spires," she stated, her voice unnaturally steady despite her deteriorating condition. "I must reach it directly." "That's suicide," Jural Van protested, placing herself between Ilara and the airlock. "The concentration of spatial distortions there is absolute. Nothing physical can survive." Ilara's smile contained 10,000 years of resigned determination. "I'm not entirely physical anymore." She gently moved past the Thraxi scientist. "Monitor the anchor network. If I succeed, be ready to activate the full defensive grid." The assembled Confederation species watched in awe as the lone human walked directly toward the dimensional breach, her body glowing with equations that burned themselves into the air around her. Where she stepped, reality momentarily stabilized, only to dissolve again in her wake. The void recoiled from her approach before lashing out with appendages of pure nothingness, each strike leaving burning wounds across Ilara's increasingly translucent form. Yet she pushed forward, step by agonizing step, forcing the breach closed through sheer will. The mathematical patterns flowing across her skin intensified, burning away her physical form as they reinforced the walls of reality itself. Hours later, as medical teams worked frantically to stabilize her barely living body, recovered from the crater where the breach had been, the Confederation High Council convened an emergency session. The recording of Ilara's stand played on repeat as representatives from 1,000 worlds watched in stunned silence, witnessing self-sacrifice on a scale their evolution-driven minds struggled to comprehend. Perhaps, the High Chancellor finally spoke, breaking the reverent silence. "We have been missing something fundamental about sapient existence, something this human remembers that we have forgotten." In the medical bay, Ilara lay suspended in a regeneration field, her body more energy than matter. Jural Van maintained vigil, reviewing data from the anchor deployment. The breach was sealed, but sensors detected 12 new distortions forming throughout Confederation space. "The void is changing tactics," she realized with growing dread. "It's no longer testing. It's attacking systematically." Outside, the stars seemed dimmer, the darkness between them pressing closer against the fragile barriers of reality. "The Guardian network requires simultaneous activation," Ilara explained, her body still recovering as she addressed representatives from every major Confederation species gathered in the ancient ship's command center. Her form flickered occasionally between solid matter and translucent energy, the battle at Harmony having accelerated her transformation beyond what the medical technologies could reverse. Holographic displays showed 7 massive installations scattered across the galaxy, structures long dismissed as natural phenomena or remnants of extinct civilizations. The Temple of Eternal Light on Kresh Prime, the crystal monoliths of Ceres, the living mountain of Thal, all revealed as disguised human defensive installations. Each node must be activated within a 14-minute window. Ilara continued, manipulating the display to show the complex activation sequence. Any longer, and the network will interpret the attempt as void interference and initiate emergency protocols. The required coordination across such distances is unprecedented, objected the Malurian ambassador, her crystalline form refracting light anxiously. Even with quantum communication, the timing would be nearly impossible. Giralvan stepped forward, her posture confident despite the exhaustion evident in her movements. The geneticists confirmed it, she announced, displaying findings that sent shockwaves through the assembly. Every major Confederation species carries fragments of human genetic code, not through coincidence but deliberate design. Indignant objections erupted from multiple representatives. The Thracian Supreme General slammed his armored appendage against the display console. This is absurd. Our evolutionary history is well documented. We are not some experiment. Ilara raised her hand, and the room fell silent, a testament to the authority she now commanded after her stand at Harmony. She activated a personal recording that materialized in the air before them, showing a human male in an ancient uniform similar to Ilara's own. "If you're watching this, Ilara, you found our children." The recording began, the man's features bearing the weight of imminent sacrifice. "The seeding program was our final contingency. We couldn't bear the thought of the universe emptied of all we were." The message explained humanity's final contingency, encoding aspects of themselves into promising species throughout the galaxy, creating a diverse cosmic family that might one day reclaim their guardianship. Not direct descendants, but carefully guided evolutionary paths, carrying essential fragments of human potential. The network will recognize these fragments. The recording continued. "When humanity is needed again, our children will answer, even without knowing why." As volunteer teams departed for each Guardian facility, the Void launched a coordinated assault across multiple systems, sensing the threat to its freedom. Entire worlds went dark as reality thinned dangerously near the activation sites. At the central installation, hidden beneath Harmony's now evacuated surface, Ilara directed the final preparations when darkness materialized around her. Tendrils of anti-reality sought the last full human, recognizing her as the key to their imprisonment. The attack halted in apparent confusion when Giralvan rushed to Ilara's side, followed by representatives of a dozen other species. Something unexpected happened as they surrounded her. The human genetic fragments within each alien activated in proximity to Ilara, creating a harmonic resonance that pushed back the darkness. "It's recognizing you," Ilara whispered in astonishment, watching the Void retreat from the assembled representatives. "The network sees you as human enough." As the activation countdown began, Giralvan noticed the patterns of light beneath Ilara's skin matching similar, fainter patterns now appearing on her own exoskeleton and those of the other representatives. The Guardian network was awakening, recognizing not just one human, but many partial ones, a cosmic family reunited after 10,000 years of separation. "We are the key," Giralvan realized. Together, the Guardian network activated with thunderous energy that cascaded across the galaxy, reality itself strengthening as ancient human technology reinforced the weakened cosmic barriers. 7 installations, separated by thousands of light years yet perfectly synchronized, pulsed with golden light that spread in geometric patterns through space. Where these patterns intersected, the fabric of existence visibly healed, dimensional breaches sealing with crystalline finality. On worlds throughout Confederation space, citizens watched in awe as the night skies filled with luminous webs of energy, beautiful and somehow familiar to all who witnessed them. The Void retreated before this onslaught, its darkness compressed and contained once more by barriers it could not corrupt. At the central nexus beneath Harmony, Ilara stood within a column of pure energy, her physical form now barely visible as her consciousness merged with the network. The representatives of 12 major Confederation species remained in a circle around her, their bodies glowing with the same mathematical patterns that flowed across Ilara's dissolving form. Not remnants, she said in wonder, watching genetic data stream across the displays surrounding them. But seeds. The revelations unfolded before them in waves of information too vast for any individual mind to comprehend, yet somehow collectively understandable to the assembled group. The human fragments carried by Confederation species weren't merely memories or basic traits, but carefully designed packages of human potential, creativity, adaptability, empathy, sacrifice, distributed to ensure these qualities would survive even if humanity itself did not. "We were never meant to guide you forever," Ilara's voice echoed, increasingly indistinguishable from the network itself. "Only until you were ready to guide yourselves." As the Void's presence faded from detected space, Ilara transferred command protocols to a newly formed council representing each carrier species. Her body, now more energy than matter after channeling so much power, began to dissipate despite the best medical efforts of the assembled teams. "Don't mourn for humanity," she told Jurulvan, whose scientific mind had already begun formulating ways to access the dormant human abilities within her own genetic code. "We achieved our greatest evolution by becoming part of everything else." Jurulvan reached out, her exoskeleton glowing with activated human genetics. "There must be a way to stabilize your form, to keep you with us. We've only just begun to understand." "I was never meant to remain," Ilara interrupted gently. "I was the bridge, not the destination." Her essence stretched toward the assembled representatives, touching each briefly. "You are humanity now. All of you, together. Different yet same. Exactly as we hoped." As Ilara's physical form dissolved into patterns of light that merged with the Guardian network, her consciousness joined the human collective sustaining reality's defenses. Her final thoughts flowed through the network, touching minds across Confederation space. Across countless worlds, individuals from diverse species began reporting strange dreams and unexpected insights, their dormant human heritage awakening. New approaches to old problems emerged spontaneously in scientific communities. Artistic expressions took forms that resonated across species boundaries. Philosophical concepts previously untranslatable between civilizations suddenly found common understanding. The newly named Guardian Accord established its headquarters around Ilara's ancient vessel, now permanently embedded in Harmony's reconstructed capital. Jurulvan, recognized as the first of the new Guardians, led the initial generation of scientists dedicated to awakening humanity's legacy within themselves. In the ship's rejuvenated gardens, a statue depicted a human hand and dozens of alien hands reaching toward each other, bearing the inscription Ilara spoke as her final words. "We were never truly alone in the universe. We just hadn't met our children yet." Beneath starlight strengthened by renewed cosmic barriers, the children of humanity looked upward with new understanding. The void remained contained, not by a single species sacrifice, but by the united legacy of their shared inheritance. The sleeping Guardian had awakened something far more powerful than herself, a family reunited across the stars.